Oh, is my audio connected? Is my head connected? Hey, Chance, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear, brother. What's up, man? How you
Oh,
doing?
I've been better. I'm recovering from cellulitis on my foot. It sucks.
Oh shit, don't feel bad, dude. I'm going through a bit of a rough time myself, dude. I just found out today through one of my close friends that one of my exes I had dated back in high school just passed away like a little under a month ago from health problems, and I was like, what? Like, how did I not know about this? So I get
Jesus.
it. Yeah, like,
Oh, I'm sorry to
and
hear that, man. Were you guys still close?
oh, dude, absolutely. Like, even though we had split, we were still, very good friends. We were still super tight with each other.
Hmm.
Like, getting that kind of news, man, especially in front of your own girlfriend, man, that was tough.
That sucks, man. So I got this all these like little interview things. I got some questions from the Discord. I tried to keep them as tame as possible.
Hey, oh, absolutely, dude. It's a dude. You would not be like, bro. Like, I'm not surprised by anything anymore. Like, half the shit I get asked, I'm just like, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So I figured the best part to start would be what makes Cyraxx different from Chance.
Ooh, that's actually, dude. That's a good one. That's a good one. I'd say like what differentiates me from one of my stage from obviously my main stage persona that everybody knows me as is the fact that outside of YouTube I'm more relaxed. I'm more laid back. I take everything in and I just kind of try to take each day a day at a time.
Mm.
And whereas for my stage side, like that side of me is like the wilding out, crazy, doesn't give no fucks,
Mm.
will basically say anything to anyone if, push and shit like that. So like that's definitely a real good question. And like I said, that side of me is definitely, the crazier side, the more not so much outgoing side, but the more, hey, you fuck with me, I'll fuck with you right back. I don't give a fuck.
Hmm. So that leads into the next question. Actually, is so do you put on a persona for your shows and YouTube and stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay. I figured that because it's like you're a little
yeah,
you have like this like dark and like all these different types of characters, or for lack of a
yeah,
better word, that you play.
yeah, exactly. Like you said, that side of me is definitely, my more wild and out side, and the more outlandish side,
So
and
it's like
then obviously,
it's like an artistic choice.
exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
and then obviously with my original name, that was actually a nickname from back in high school, which was the Shadowblade name. That's more or less, like my darker side, my more, I want to get inside your head and fuck with you any way that I can, kind of side.
That actually leads into a question I had planned for later, but we can tackle it now. Who is the Demon King Shadowblade? If you had to describe
Oh,
him.
yeah. For me, like I said, the origins of my original persona was actually a nickname given to me back in high school by one of my good friends that unfortunately passed in '09 from a drowning accident
That wasn't
and
Zach.
whatnot.
That wasn't Zach, right? That
No,
was a
no,
different
no,
thing.
no, that was the one before him. That was mine and
Um.
Zach's best friend David.
Okay. Okay. I don't know much about like the early like years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Not many people do. Like, there's a few that do, but not too many.
I tend to think the less like stuff you put out publicly on the internet is better because people can get a hold of it and do all types of things with it.
Right, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
So
I
what
said,
was the nickname referring to?
and that's what's weird. I didn't really understand it myself at first until he sat down and explained it to me. Like, I was sitting down this one day talking to him. I was like, "Yo, like, why'd you give me that nickname? Like, what's up with that? Like, you could have chosen any nickname in the world. Why that?" And at the time, I had just started getting into music. I had just discovered how to, create instrumentals. And at that time, I was creating this really just dark, weird, eerie instrumentals. And he was like, your sound is, obviously a dark sound,
Mm.
kind of like something you would hear coming out of the shadows, but they're also super sharp. They're fine tuned, kind of like, a sword. So, hence, Shadowblade. And I was
Yeah.
like, that actually makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. That actually leads me into the next question is take us through the early years before you were making music, like your childhood, before you got into
Oh,
that.
man. Well, let's see. Obviously, when I was a kid, I grew up a military brat. My dad was in the army. We had moved around base to base most of my life and whatnot till I was like 12.
I don't want to interrupt you, but what division?
United States Army, 2nd Airborne Division, Staff
Oh,
Sergeant.
cool. My dad, I don't know what his exact division was, but he was a medic in the army.
Oh, nice. That's what's
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Anyway, continue on.
Yo, definitely thanks to your dad, dude, for sure.
Well, thanks to your dad too, man, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Small world, huh, man?
Yeah. Anyway, continue on. You were saying you moved
But
from place
yeah,
to
like I
place.
said, I had, moved around, from base to base. And then, when I was little, my parents had gotten a divorce. My dad wound up moving to Florida. Me and my mom wound up staying in Washington State where I was raised till I was like fucking, I want to say like 13, 14 at the time. And
Mm.
then we had decided to, to pick up and move down to Florida and whatnot. And obviously, I got to be around my dad a little bit here and there because I would go over to his house every other weekend. And then shortly after that, Hurricane. I don't know if you remember Hurricane Charlie and all those ones back in 2004.
Yeah, I think I vaguely do. I remember the other one that happened in like 2009 or whatever, or something around then, because I was right out of high school and it was like
Yeah,
really bad. But I don't know if I remember that one. I'm sure
yeah,
if I
like,
looked it up.
like Hurricane Charlie's. That was around the time we were down in Florida. Hurricane Charlie had hit. And we had actually wound up living up in Baltimore, Maryland for a while to get away from the hurricanes after Charlie had hit. We were like, fuck this. We want to get out of here and get away from all these other ones before it gets worse. So me, my mom, and my brother, we all packed up and went up to Maryland, stayed up there for a while. We came back down after all the hurricanes that happened. And we were initially supposed to go back to my hometown in Washington State out in Seattle. We were supposed to go back out there, but as we were going up, we had gotten word from my older sister that my nephew Troy was being born. We
Hmm.
were like, like why don't we make a stop in Ohio? Like that'd be cool, you know, and catch up with everybody again and whatnot, and see the family and whatnot. And we wound up doing that, and after he was born, we just kind of decided, like, what, like, we just kind of ultimately planted root here, and we've have been here in Ohio ever since.
Yeah.
And and then I obviously got into high school and whatnot. And before I even touched music, I was drawing all the time. Like I was that kid in class, like that kid in class that would like always draw on the back of their classwork and shit when they're bored.
Oh, dude, that was me all the time.
That was that kid. I
And
was
I
that
suck
kid.
at drawing.
Dude, my teachers would get so pissed, but they would be like in such shock. They'd be like, dude, like, this is actually really good, but why the fuck are you drawing on the back of your classwork? Like, this is actually good, but why are you doing this? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, everybody else is doing their work. I got nothing else to do, so why the fuck not?
Yeah. So going from that, this is one that I was personally interested in. What these actually two. What is your favorite project you've made musically?
Ooh, that's actually a real tough one, dude. Shit, because I've done a lot of really good ones. But for me personally, I would have to say more or less like definitely, obviously, one of them would definitely be my two albums that I dropped back in 2018, which are still widely considered as one of my personal favorites
Is that
out of those
the
two.
dubstep one?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Knockout and Evolution. Like those two are definitely two of my favorites for sure. Those will always be because those are like two of the ones that I really took a lot of time on. But as far as like my regular stuff goes, I would have to say more or less, my more, personalized stuff, like the stuff that actually talks about my life and,
Mm.
what I've gone through, like Hidden in Your Lies, fucking Another Day Is Over, like stuff like that, because those actually touch on, real events and real stuff that I had, gone through, through, certain periods in my life where, I was in bad situations. I had, been, bullied a lot in high school. I had, as you know already, as a lot of people know, I've been, in really dark places in my life. And those songs kind of remind me, to, to keep your head up. Like, there's always, you know, better things to come. So, like, those songs more or less are kind of like an anthem of my life in a sense.
Mm. So
That kind of, yeah.
I'm sorry. The second half of this question is, what is your least favorite project you've ever done? Like something you can look back on and they're
Oh,
like,
oh
I don't know why I did that.
man.
Because everyone has
Dude,
one.
honestly, I can honestly say, dude, I would have to say my album Between the Lines is probably my least favorite project that I've done. Because
Hmm.
that's when I was just starting out in hip hop. I just started to, get into rap. And I was that young kid that, thought he knew what he was doing, was, going all over the place. And for what it wasn't bad. But listening back now, I'm just like, dude, I could have done that so much better.
Oh, dude, we all have one. Now
Oh,
we have a
absolutely.
question from Discord. This is coming from Mandy. She says, "Where were you on 9/11?"
I was in. But like I was in school when it had happened,
Mm-hmm.
when the Twin Towers had hit. And I was in, I want to say, I think I was, yeah, I was going to school at Roosevelt Academy with my childhood best friends, Rachel and Marcus, who ironically are actually engaged, which is pretty funny.
Hmm.
Like I was in school with them in class at the time when we had heard that the Twin Towers had gotten hit, and like that right there. And at the time, I didn't really understand, what was going on. Like I knew like it was a major event, but I didn't understand what
Yeah,
was
I
going
mean,
on.
it was definitely traumatic. I didn't even get told what happened until like hours after it happened. I was like a little
Yeah,
kid.
yeah, exactly. And back then, I was like, oh shit, like major events happening. What's going on? And then later on, like 2, 3 years, 2, 3, 4 years after, when I was in, just going into like towards like the end of middle school, towards of like junior high and high school, like that's when I like really realized like, oh shit, like this is actually a real thing. Like holy fuck.
Yeah. Here's one that I had. You mentioned your brother a lot. How much has he impacted your development as an artist?
Oh, dude, honestly, in almost every sense, because not only did I pick, because my older brother, like he loved to read a lot, and it was through him that I really got into reading a lot. Um, I started to write a lot, and I had started to notice like as I was writing, like as I was getting older and writing, I had started writing poems,
Hmm.
and like later on down the road, I had started to realize like holy shit, like these aren't just poems. These are like legit, thoughts and stuff not only coming out of my head, but these are legitimate incidences that have happened in my life. And I initially started to think like, what can I do? Like should I have these published? Should I go through a publisher? And at the time that was very hard to do
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
there was no self-publishing at the time. There was no, companies that were looking for, poetry of that style. So I was like, like what can I do? And I initially, shut off the idea of, what to do with it. And I had, just stuck to my artwork and shit like that. And then it was around like 2000, it was like early 2009 that I had shown, my, you know, one of mine and my friend Zach's friends David, who, like I had mentioned earlier, had passed in '09 from a drowning accident. It was like earlier that year. It was in like February or March of that year that I had showed him some of my poetry work and the stuff I had written down. And he's like, dude, like, these could actually be songs. Like, if you structured this right, like, these could definitely, be songs. And ultimately, they had started to take on that form. And as, you've seen and a lot of people have seen, those songs, kind of came to life once I started, you know, finding that sound that suits me, that suits my style, and really what I'm about. So, definitely my brother has made a major, major impact in, pretty much everything that, I've done music wise, writing.
Hmm.
It's definitely a huge reason as to why I'm so into fucking books.
Yeah. So the next question I got is, what is a daily routine for Cyraxx?
Oh, that's a good one. That's one I actually get asked a lot. That one's actually not that uncommon of a question, but it's still kind of funny. Like, as like before me and my girlfriend got together, it was usually, I'd wake up, hop on YouTube, see if, any of my favorite YouTubers like Jacksepticeye, Markiplier, Slap Train, or different people that I watch, had uploaded anything, and like if I'm doing something or whatever, like I'll throw them on, take a shower, do whatever.
Mm.
Then I would get out. I would record like a quick thing in the morning if I had something that I wanted to record or put up. I would do that. Then I would eat breakfast, and then from there it would just vary. Like if I wanted to do like a live stream or whatever, or if I wanted to upload something or make a music video or something, like it definitely varied day to day. As of right now, it's definitely it's somewhat the same still. As of right now, it's definitely wake up probably around like 1 or 2 in the afternoon with this COVID shit going on.
Oh yeah.
I'm waking up at like noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which is around the time that my girl gets up. Because like 1 o'clock for me would be like 12 o'clock her time.
Mm.
So like she's usually up around that time. So like I'll get a hold of her and we'll talk, eat breakfast together and whatnot. And from there I'll just work on my artwork, hang out with her, hang out with family and whatnot. So that's pretty much my daily routine as of
Oh.
right now.
All right. So the next one is, what's your opinion about where you live and the people who live around you?
Oh, that's actually a good one. Honestly, dude, like I gotta admit, most people would say that they hate the people that they're around. But honestly, I genuinely like a lot of the people around me because when we moved in here into this house back in 2010, yeah, it was about 2010 that we moved into this house. And like back then, I was the new guy on the block. Everybody was kind of like, whatever. But over the years, like I've become, really close with some of our neighbors that, I'm still very close with. Like our neighbor Miss Jackie right next door, who's literally like, she's this really cool old black lady, but she's literally like family, like for fucking sure. Like
Mm.
something's going on, she's right there, like, hey, what's up, what's good. So like,
Aw.
I can definitely say, I've definitely grown to like a lot of the people around me and stuff. Like, there's not too much bad shit like there was back then, but it is more or less tame and quiet now than it was back then for sure.
Yeah. So I have another one from Discord. This is from Cable, and I know Cable, so she's not trolling when she asks this. I think
Yeah,
she's just
yeah.
curious. She asks, "Were you in a special needs class in school? No disrespect. I'm just curious."
Actually was. When I was in high school, they had a thing where I was in special needs classes, but they made it like it was normal. Like, it looked like, your normal average run of the mill high school class, but like it was like a special needs kind of thing, and I didn't realize it till like my freaking 12th grade year, and I'm sitting there like, dude, why do I need to be in here? Like, obviously I'm good enough to be out there, and I just proved it. So like, why y'all got me in here? So yeah, I've definitely, I've taken special needs classes pretty much most of my life, honestly. So like,
Yeah.
I'm not a stranger to that. Like, I love it when people ask that because that gives them an inside look at what I'm about and how I came up. So
I think
I
people
should,
are like, oh, I'm sorry. I think people unfairly like have a view of people who go to special needs class. Like
oh,
you know what I mean?
absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I grew up with special needs kids most of my life, so I totally get it.
Speaking of school, how was school for you, and what did you excel at?
Oh man, for me, school it was kind of weird. Like I said, my first few years growing up, I bounced around from military base to military base, so that part of it was definitely rough. But once I got through, middle school and high school, it kind of started to ease out. But then, with high school came, the freshman hazing shit, the typical run of the mill stuff with that.
Mm.
And then, as the years went on, some of the bullying still did continue. And at some points, it did get really bad. But for the most part, it was more or less, it was good. Like, I had, my friends there. I had, ironically, a couple of my cousins that had gone to high school with me. So, like, it was awkward at times, but it was definitely, it was cool.
Yeah. So the next one I had is you had a brief foray into film with I think it was The Darkness. Who is your
Yeah.
favorite director?
Oh man, definitely. Guys like Tim Burton, Steven Spielberg. I'm trying to think. The one director that does the fucking Conjuring films.
Oh, James Wan.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Him. Guys like the one that did fucking the Annabelle series.
Well, I think that's also James Wan in the beginning, but I
Yeah, I
think
think,
they passed it off to other people.
yeah. Guys like them. A lot of people don't know this, but guys like Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli stuff like that. Like different directors like that have definitely played a huge impact.
Hmm.
On everything I do from film work to my artwork, the manga that I'm currently working on, which you actually got to see a preview of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's coming along. Like I said, it's
Yeah,
not particularly my style. I'm more for like
yeah,
a sketched kind of really
yeah,
detailed thing. But
yeah.
everyone has their own tastes.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Like I said, I'm in the same boat with you on that. Like, slice of life normally isn't my thing. And I'm more or less in the same boat that you are when it comes to anime. But at the same time, I kind of wanted to bring, that real life aspect that nobody really brings into any of that anymore. I kind of wanted to bring that back and be like, hey, this is what you guys are missing out on here. Like, this is like real life shit that goes on. Like, bring
Hmm.
that stuff back because that's what pulled us into this in the first place.
Definitely. Where do you sit politically on the political spectrum?
Oh man, for me, honestly, like I'm definitely on. I can't say that I'm on either side, but at the same time, I kind of try to see, both, points of views. Like with the whole Trump and Biden thing, yeah, Trump's got some really good points, but at the same time, Biden's got some good points as well. So it's definitely tough. It's definitely an on the fence kind of thing for me.
You probably fall into like a centrist point of view then.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
Yeah.
for me, it's like, hey, whatever happens, happens. Like I'm not in control of that. Like unless it affects my everyday life, why should I worry about it?
Yeah. So I don't know what this next question means. It comes from Discord, but it's from Kleptoast, asking, "Have you considered trying to partner with IP2?" I have no idea what that means.
Okay, IP2 basically is one of the major players in like a lot of the cyberbullying and shit like that. I've had a few.
Oh.
Yeah, I've had a few run-ins with them, and the first run-in really wasn't that bad. They were genuinely cool people. Like, not all of them are bad, but there are the few in there that do claim IP2 that are, definitely sketchy. But honestly, I've considered it, and I've definitely looked at it, and honestly, like no offense to IP2 at all whatsoever. I fucks with a lot of you guys. Some of you guys are actually really cool. But honestly, like it's just not for me.
Okay. These next couple questions are going to get a little personal. I'm just going to give you a
Oh,
heads up. So my first question is, what is your biggest regret in life?
ooh, my biggest regret in life. Oh man, that's definitely a tough one because I've definitely done a lot of crazy shit when I was younger, to say the least.
Hmm.
But then, we've all done crazy shit when we were kids.
Oh yeah.
My my biggest regret, honestly, I could say is not listening to those around me that I should have listened to in the very beginning when I started this whole thing.
Hmm.
'Cause, back then I was young, I was a kid, thought I knew everything, thought I was, a boss and this and that. And then, over the years, I started to learn, like, oh shit, like, there's a lot more to this than just, uploading and sitting back and letting the stuff come in. Like, you gotta, do something and stand out. So I definitely
Yeah.
do regret not taking the advice of those that, did try to help me, like, for sure.
The next one is, if you could change one thing about yourself, what would you change?
Oh, I know this is gonna kind of shock everybody because a lot of people would not expect this, but I would have to say definitely the way that I go off on people. Like, I
Hmm.
would definitely change, how, I approach, certain situations, like with the whole, Marty saga bullshit. Like, I definitely would have approached that differently had I known what was going on. So I would definitely, change, the fact that, I do have a bit of a hot head.
Yeah. I often think that we're defined more by the tragedies that befall us rather than the good times. What
Yeah.
tragedy has shaped you in some degree?
Oh, I would definitely say the major one that definitely has, well, the two that definitely has, shaped me is, obviously the loss of, my best friend Zach back in 2015,
Mm.
which was actually the same year that I had lost my brother earlier that year.
Ugh,
So
that's
like
rough.
definitely yeah, it was, dude. Like I had lost my brother in February of that year, and then in December of that year I had lost, Zach to, that shooting and whatnot.
Mm.
So like 2015 was definitely a very rough year for me, to say the least. Like that was definitely one of my roughest years. Definitely that, and I can honestly say, the loss of, honestly several people such as Chester Bennington, Chris Cornell, Van Halen. Like those definitely showed me quite a bit, honestly. Like the passing of my brother and my friend in 2015. Like those definitely showed me that you definitely gotta take each day at a time. And you can't dwell on the past because if you do, you're just gonna end up making the same mistakes over and over and over, and it's just gonna be an endless cycle. And then with Chester and his loss, which as a lot of people know, I grew up listening to Linkin Park in high school, and that's kind of how I got into the band was through their earlier stuff. And
Yeah.
that definitely his obviously the whole world suffered a loss that
Yeah.
day. But like that kind of like his passing kind of showed me tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Like there's only today, so like you definitely gotta do what you can to help people. And if they are going through those tough times, you gotta reassure them and show them, hey, like you're not alone in this. There are people out there that go through what he went through. You just gotta be willing to take that stand and like actually reach out and be like, hey, this is what I'm going through.
Yeah. Next question comes from Dr. Yoshi from Discord. Who do you think killed Jeffrey Epstein?
I honestly don't know too much about that case, so I can't really say.
Well, I mean, he was taken into custody for pedophilia, and then he allegedly committed suicide, but it just seemed way too convenient. So many people think that a politician or someone who he had dirt on killed him. So that's where that question
Yeah,
comes from. You
like I
often.
said,
Oh,
I'm
I'm
not
sorry.
I'm not too familiar with that case, so like I can't really speak on that.
Yeah. Um, you often have issues with your exes. Are there any that you're on good terms with?
I was definitely, obviously before her passing, a month ago, which I just found out today about. My ex Alexi, I'm still, I was on good terms with her and
Mm.
whatnot. Like me and her were still, super tight. Um, I want to say me and Megan are on somewhat good terms, but not really. Like we don't really talk. Like if we do, it's like, hey, how you doing? Whatever.
Yeah.
Some there are a few exes, that I'm on good terms with. Like not too many because of how they've done me wrong
Hmm.
in the past. But there are a few that I'm still good friends with to this day that are super cool. That like I'm looking back now, and and now that I am with Caitlin, and the one that I actually want to spend the rest of my life with. Like looking back now, I'm like, I'm glad me and this other one over here, ended up good friends because now I'm actually with somebody that actually is not about that bullshit.
1 second. I'm sorry. My alarm's going off.
Oh, you're good, man.
That actually leads quite well into the next question, which is, what is the ideal life for you in 20 years? Like your house, your location, your family.
Oh
What do you
man,
think about?
that's definitely a good question. And like, and a lot of people ask that, but for me, like, it's not your typical oh, I want a mansion, this and that. Like, even if, let's just say, for example, my artwork does take off, and I do start doing good with that. For me, it would just be, a simple house, for, me and her, and, and if God willing, we have kids or whatever, definitely, stuff like that. Just your typical, normal, average, everyday family. A nice little car, nothing, expensive, like something reliable that doesn't break every time you tap a freaking curb or some shit.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So the next question I have is, what's going on with the engagement in the wedding? Is there a ring, and how will you provide for her, and will you stream the wedding? Asks EarJuice.
Ooh, that's a good one. As far as streaming the wedding goes, we are working on a way to do that. My brother Sean is actually going to be the best man at the wedding. Shout out to my brother Sean, was good. Um, But yeah, we are gonna try to stream it. There is a ring that me and her looked at that I do want to get for it. Just with COVID going on and family being out of work and me not being able to do anything really much right now. It's definitely but there is definitely a ring involved. We're looking at either sometime in August of next year or August of the year after, depending on what goes on with this COVID shit. But there is a month. We just got to figure out like what specific day that we want. But then everything's going good so far. Like everything's in the works and going good so far.
Okay. And how did the engagement happen, and how romantic were you?
Believe it or not, a lot of people like don't see this side of me, but I'm literally like I know this is crazy coming from shit that people have seen, but I actually am definitely thanks to my mom raising me my whole life on her own. I'm definitely one of those hopeless romantic kind of guys.
Hmm.
So it was definitely cool. Unfortunately, it had to be over FaceTime because, obviously with the lockdown and everything. But it was definitely, around her family and stuff and whatnot. So it was definitely, very romantic and stuff. It was me, her, I think it was like her grandmother or her stepmom or whatever, her sister Paige, and, a few family members that were there and stuff and whatnot. And, like me and her were sitting down, watching movies with her family. And it was just one of those things that just kind of happened. I was sitting there thinking about it like the whole time we were watching the movie, and like everybody got up to do stuff. And like literally, they heard like right as soon as I said, I was like, "Hey, like, I got a question for you." And like literally, everybody stopped dead what they were doing. It's kind of like they knew almost. It was weird, like they almost knew what was gonna happen. And like I obviously popped the question. She said yes. Her sister her sister Paige was like straight up like, and I understand where she's coming from because that's her family. She flat out said she's like, "You hurt her, I will put my foot up your ass." I was like, "Don't worry, that's not gonna happen."
Well, I'm sure she will because she does karate, eh?
Well, it's not necessarily karate. It's actually Hidon, which is basically a Korean style swordsmanship, which is what Caitlyn does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I actually wound up getting to see her, Caitlyn. I actually got to see Caitlyn practice last week, which was actually a lot of fun. Like, I got to meet her Master Rose, which was super cool. Her Master Rose she's tough, but she's definitely very fun. Definitely, cool to be around and stuff. So it was definitely a lot of fun. It was definitely cool to see that.
Yeah. The next question is, what is best in life?
Oh, what is best in life? It depends on what angle you're coming at that from. But for me, like what's best in life is just enjoying life and just kind of, taking every day, as it comes at you, because like I said earlier, tomorrow is never guaranteed for any of us. So
Yeah.
you kind of take, each day, as it comes at you and try to make, the best out of it, whether you're having the worst day in the world or whatever, like you definitely gotta, make the most of what you got with what you have around you.
What is your opinion on the Holocaust?
Ugh. As far as like, you're gonna have to be more specific on that one. Like,
Well,
what?
there are a few amount of people who question the number of Jews killed, and the validity of the records, considering there really were none. Some people
Yeah,
even go as far as to say it didn't happen. I wouldn't say I'm particularly one of those people, but I do think the numbers have inflated over the years without any concrete evidence. Do you have any
yeah,
opinions on
yeah.
that?
I can honestly say that back then it was definitely very hard to tell because there was so much going on with Hitler doing what he did at the time, and a lot of people don't know this about Hitler, but he had actually had some sort of illness that would like make his hand shake a lot, and it was actually in a documentary. I forget what documentary it was, but he was dealing with that. Um, on top of obviously doing the horrid things that he had done.
Mm.
And a lot of people don't know this, but David Draymond's grandparents, the lead vocalist of Disturbed, David Draymond, his grandparents were actually survivors of the Holocaust.
Yeah, it makes sense with his name. Yeah.
Yeah, so like, seeing that, I was like, holy shit. And like, he did go into some detail, like not a lot, but he did go into some detail of, like what it was like for his grandparents because he had, he grew up, you know, hearing the stories and, seeing what they went through, through stuff that he was, told and shown by his family. So he definitely has a very good grasp on that for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but for me, ultimately, it's like you said, the numbers have gone up and down a lot over the years. So it's definitely very hard to tell.
Yeah. The next thing I wanted to ask is a lot of people see you use the word faggot a lot, and they take it as like
Yeah,
a derogatory slur.
yeah, yeah. Like,
What is your opinion on homosexuality?
honestly, I have no problem with it because like a lot of people don't realize this, but my older brother was gay, so like I'm used to it. I was raised around it. A lot of
Mm.
my friends are all spectrums of it. I have friends that you know.
Oh,
Like,
oh,
I mean, yo, dude, we're gonna have to cut this short.
oh! You gotta wrap up, man. Oh, oh! God damn it. Okay. Well, I guess we had to cut this short. That was Cyraxx. Um, I had some more questions, but I don't know what happened. He said he had to cut it short. I'm just gonna run through the rest of the questions that we didn't get to ask him, and if he comes back, I'll ask it and I'll edit this part out. What is your favorite manga, and who is your favorite mangaka? What makes Music Biz Marty so detestable? Who is Jamie Nicole? Marty has said you gave your ex HIV. What's up with that? It's been mentioned before that you spent a night in jail. Some say for attacking your mother, others say for stealing a hefty sum of gold from a mine called Moria. What's the real story? Treemaster Bob asks, do you have a compulsive issue like Tourette's? He notices you seem to have a tick for scratching your head. What's his plan for Marty and the police? Does he see Jasmine as releasing porn, as revenge porn, as a federal crime? And finally, where does Cyraxx go from here? I want to thank Cyraxx for coming by, and yeah,